like I mentioned before, Ricky, we've all got these stories. We're just at this cusp of creating our own story, and designing our own life and our own career. So let go of stuff and start building your own story now. There's no time like the present. And, let's start also making an impact on the environment as well. Because the less we buy, the less waste we have, we do our bit.
Hello and welcome to the Unlocked podcast with me, Ricky Lock, the podcast that is part of my adventure into unlocking how to be the best version of ourselves and live an extraordinary and successful life. This week, Chris Lovett, speaker and minimalist, joins me for a conversation on the discovery of less, a true story of his adventure of stepping out of the comfort zone of everyday life and learning to let go. It is a fantastic episode, all about minimalism and really about what is the most important things in our life. Is it the materialistic things that we hold dear to our life, or is it about the adventures, experiences and stories that we create? Now, I'm a big fan of minimalism myself, and this is a fantastic episode that really will make you think about what is the most important thing in your life. And since recording this episode, Chris has announced that he'll also be talking at TEDx Holt London. That is an event that you do not want to miss. Head to the link in the show notes and you can find out more about Chris's work and TEDx Holt London. But without further ado, enjoy this amazing episode on the discovery of less with Chris Lovett. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Unlocked podcast. This week's guest is a minimalist speaker, coach and author of the book Discovery of Less. Welcome to the show, Chris Lovett. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing very well, my friend. How are you?
Very well, thanks, mate. Yeah, really looking forward to this. I am a massive fan of your work and obviously of minimalism in itself as well. And I think that this is a really nice match because I won't go into too much detail, but everything that you do helps to inspire people to be the best version of themselves. So, yeah, how are you? How's your week been so far?
It's been very minimalist. Yeah. It'd be rubbish, wouldn't it? It'd be rubbish if I started a podcast and went, how's your week been? I'd be like, I've been stacked. Yeah. I've been hating it. I've been too busy. So I suppose I've got to give off this this view of being quite a minimalist, but I am really, But yeah, it's been all good. I'm really looking forward to this. It's been great to connect with you. And really looking forward to where we meander on our chat.
Yes, I think there's going to be a few, isn't there, of that? It's funny, actually, Chris, because I was in this conversation with someone else the other day. Could you imagine if you said to someone, how are you? And they said, I'm bloody amazing. Life is just brilliant right now. The way that we're conditioned, you'd think, bloody hell, you're a bit arrogant. But people can't, can they? They don't feel compelled to say how bloody great they are. So it is funny because
we default, yeah, not bad.
Yeah, and we bat away those comments. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, how are you? Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, no, not bad.
No, I'm bloody brilliant. I'm brilliant. Yeah. Well, Chris, I'm brilliant today because I'm talking to you, and that's I mean that because I even wrote this down. I am a massive fan of minimalism, as we were just having this conversation before press record. Yeah. But I love it because on your website you've got this great phrase, which is removing the things that no longer add value to make room for unlocking the best version of you, which is completely in line with this podcast. But firstly, Chris, for anyone that's probably never heard of you, met you or discovered your books or anything that you do, tell us, who are you and what is it that you do?
Yeah, who are you? That's the toughest question ever, isn't it, really? So like you said, Ricky, my name's Chris Lovett. That is my real name. I never used to have these labels and I wasn't generally too fussed about labels, but I've kind of labelled myself as a minimalist because I focus on just the good stuff. I don't let any of the rubbish stuff impact who I am. And over the last few years, I've taken on all these other labels of being a professional coach and a speaker, as well as an author, which is a surprise to me, seeing as I failed English when I was at school and didn't go to university. And so people from working class backgrounds like myself, you're not supposed to write books. You're not supposed to write long form, not how-to books, but like memoirs and anything like that. And so I am owning these labels now, and trying to help people just to remove some of the stuff that gets in the way, really. And when I say stuff, it's your physical stuff, your digital stuff on your phone, on your laptop, all the mental stories that we tell ourselves, all those self-limiting beliefs, etc., and even to the depths of a fulfilling job. Mm-hmm. So letting go of all of those bits and pieces around your life that kind of keep you tethered to those decisions of the past. So almost like trying to help people become like the HD version of themselves. So we've been living in black and white and standard definition for too long now. Let's all dial up and become high def.
That's a really great way.
By getting rid of your stuff, you're able to do that. So that's what I did, and now I'm trying to help other people just to shine a light on the positive impacts of decluttering and living a bit more minimalist, not just on us as individuals, but on your community and on the environment as well, which has been a huge upward trend for me recently. Is asking people ask you to talk about. I get the decluttering bit, but can you link it to sustainability? Well, bloody yeah, of course I can. Here you go.
Yeah,
it's just the positive impacts that it just has on you and your community and on the environment as well.
Yeah, I love that phrase about bringing ourselves like into HD. It's true. Yeah. I think I've mentioned it on one of my podcasts before about the challenge that I did last year with when I discovered the minimalists, as I was saying before this in January. I was like, bloody hell, yeah, getting rid of this stuff and decluttering. It's not just about tidying up. And I know that you've mentioned on one of the podcasts before about this Marie Kondo thing. It's not just a case of tidying up, but this thing that it did to me was that it made me think that the stuff doesn't define me. It's not a measure of success, but the real stuff or the real things to do is the experiences and the people and the conversations and this wonderful life that you can have, that you're not being anchored down with all this stuff and consumption. But interesting.
I know, the minimalists are my guys, and there's quite a few torchbearers. But what I found is from going through this journey is a lot of those torchbearers weren't British.
Yeah.
And so they always had most of them had a Western view, which aligned with my view, but none of them were talking about things like our culture and things like Sunday best and, keeping things just in case and all these types of things that I experienced that were just slightly different from an American view. And so I looked around and I'm like, right, who sounds like me? Any Cockneys around here that decluttering? And I couldn't find any. And so I had to almost begin to start, what does a British version of this look like? And so I've pulled out, when I'm linking things to people and trying to relate to a British audience, I'm trying to bring in things like Fawlty Towers and Andy Peters and, reference points that we know as Brits and through growing up. So I'm just an average bloke doing average things. But it turns out that those types of things have unlocked something in me, and hopefully will unlock stuff in others too.
Yeah, I love it. I was doing a bit of research and I think that you are one of the UK's only public speakers on minimalism.
As far as I know.
Yeah. As far as I know as well, yeah. I
maybe
think
after this, everybody will come out of the woodwork and we'll just make a massive team or something.
Yeah. But it was true, though. I know what you mean, though. It does feel very westernized. I've read a lot of books on it, and it is very that westernized approach to it. And I love the idea of what you're bringing into this with this, Cockney approach, that kind of thing. But it's so true. But I think one of the key things that I think as well it's fascinating to the audience of this podcast is that I'm trying to inspire people to be the best version of themselves. There's many people out there who are in the L&D space. There's small business owners, SMEs, and it's being fulfilled. And I love that you have a wonderful story that led to that spark, because I believe that the spark of what you're doing now came from a kind of a moment, like a catalyst that just went, is this it? And I'd love for you to share your story of your background, of how you got to what you're doing now, and now what's leading you to this wonderful path of inspiring people to look at the most important things in life.
Yeah. When people ask about the light bulb moment, so to speak, I always have to kind of make sure that I caveat it with, there wasn't some inspirational beam of light or anything that woke me up. It was lots of little things that made me kind of realise exactly what you said, Ricky, around, is this it? And that was having a ridiculously busy work life and thinking that title, so like the title of manager, once I get there, I've made it in life. Once I get to a certain status from a salary wise, I've made it. But every time I got to that certain phase, I just moved the goalposts a little bit further. And I was like, well, if I just keep doing that forever and ever and ever, it's never going to be fulfilling. And I had all these aspirations to go traveling, to do a job that I enjoyed, to get out of debt. That was a good one. That would have been nice. That would have been nice from 18 to 35, just continual credit cards. And so, and I basically just by fluke stumbled across decluttering as an activity and realized how much space it gave me, not just physically in the home, but mentally as well, to think a bit clearer. And that was the catalyst really to kind of sold my stuff, was able to do the things that I wanted to, like go traveling, and then come back and implement this new design of life rather than having it designed for me by outside influences or things I couldn't control. I basically just wrestled control back from myself and decided to design a life and a personal and a professional life that worked for me, for what my motivations were at that time. So yeah, I sold pretty much everything I owned. I quit a job that was okay. I'm sure that most of us have okay jobs that are just a solid 6 out of 10 comfort zone. I ditched that, made a few mistakes on the way, and built up this new way of living. And all of a sudden, these other bits started to emerge, like sharing the story on a stage, which I'd never even contemplated before. But people were interested, and they thought, well, if I sell my Napoleon Dynamite DVD, do I get to feel the same way as you?
And I actually sold that on Music Magpie as well, about 5 or 6 years ago.
They must have loads of them copies, and so and because it resonated, so it was sort of about stuff that we all had, stuff that we'd all gone through. And so then the book was almost like a nice follow-on from that. And then the talks have kept coming, and it's been great to connect with. I say it's been magic to connect with people like you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
And tell the story. I'll try to reduce the magic puns as we move through. But
yeah, I love it. It's you have a very similar story to me in terms of, although for anyone watching this on YouTube, Chris is probably having a field day looking at behind me, all the stuff I've got behind me.
I don't judge, mate. I don't
judge. That's true. But I love that your story was similar to mine. I was thinking, is this it? And what I wanted to do. Now, interestingly, there's a thought here that I thought about. Like, I know that you were acquiring this idea of status of manager. And I remember you had a story about someone receiving a balloon for like 20 years or a decade of their life. You think, Jesus Christ, And it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you went up that ladder, I went up the ladder as well. And as you get paid more money, your expenses then go up with that. So I never found that I was really better off, because the gap between what I was earning and the profit, I started getting more expensive cars, more expensive things in the house. So nothing was there. And I remember, I think it's Richard Kiyosaki from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He talks about the idea of job is just over broke, J-O-B, just over broke.
Yes.
You pay just enough to keep you living, but not really enough to give you that life that you really want to do. But then you consume yourselves by all these things. Just a little spark of magical musings there. But I do think that it's interesting.
Do you call them magical musings? Do you call them magical musings?
I'm going to start a series, I think, on this podcast called Magical Musings of just these random thoughts. Yeah. But I think it's interesting in the life that we have. And like you said, that very British way of living. Consumed by like my phone, which is terrible, but just every day, scrolling through the feed and seeing what other people are doing. And I had a good chat with a friend of mine who Kat Hayes, about this idea of the measure of success. What does that measure of success really look like? And I think we can get lost in that, thinking that, I haven't got that watch, I haven't got that expensive car, so therefore does that mean that I'm inadequate? Therefore I need to then go get debt or credit cards to go buy those things. But actually the decluttering phase of doing those things makes me feel actually to look at the most important things in life. But I'm guessing that you must have doing what you do, you must inspire so many people to kind of take the blinkers off and go, Jesus Christ, what? You mean there's more to life than this? You must have thousands of people that you've kind of inspired through what you do.
Well, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it is the preconceived ideas of that. We've been programmed to believe that status and things mean success, and whether that's through how we've grown up, to people that we've been connected to, school, advertisers as well, keeping up with the Joneses, all these types of phrases and things like that. It would always lead back to possessions. The more possessions you had, the more successful you were.
Yeah.
And we had to continue on this ladder. Hence, the JOB reference. I love that.
Yeah.
Just over broke. And it's true. 100% true. Until we figure out that actually it's all bullshit and it doesn't really matter about the watch you just bought, because they all say at the same time. I remember I had a mate once, and he bought a watch and it had no hands on it.
Oh yeah.
And it just said, you have all the time in the world. And I was
That's
like,
amazing.
I like this. No wonder you're late to everything, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are conditioned to kind of believe that. And part of decluttering, just like I mentioned before, it's not just the physical stuff, but it's decluttering those beliefs in your belief system. You need this type of, you need that jumper, you need that watch, you need that phone. And yeah, it's a different way of living, but it really resonates with a lot of people, because especially now, by the time that this goes out, the price of everything has gone up. So we're talking, petrol, utilities, food, and how are we going to pay for that, as well as continuing to pay for all the stuff that we don't need? Are we going to take out more debt? What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
And so what people could do potentially is look inside their home for things that are not being used or not being loved or don't add value anymore, and sell it off to people who do need it, want it, and use that excess fund to pay for the increase in living. So, rather than going through payday lenders or payday loans or anything like that, utilize what you've got already. It might not be as much as what you initially bought it for example, the free P DVDs, but at least it will serve you, almost like it'll be created with new value. So this new value, that this stuff that's been left in the loft, it will be transferred into new value. So it resonates with a lot of people, and let's just hope that we can become a bit more self-aware of where we spend our money and the stuff that we owe, because Britain hoards more clutter than the rest of Europe combined.
Really?
Yeah. So
oh my God.
Compare the market.
Yeah.
They did research on the storage industry.
Oh yeah.
Which is one of the highest growing industries.
Yeah.
And we had more space per square meter than the rest of Europe combined dedicated to storage.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We use most, if not all of it. And if that probably costs £1,000, £1,500 a year to store all your old stuff, that's extra money that you could be doing, going on holiday or paying bills or, fixing the car or getting a new boiler or whatever it is. But we can't win the Euros, unfortunately, because penalty shootout. We're rubbish at Eurovision, but we are the best at hoarding. So take that to the bank.
Wow.
And let's get the top of that leaderboard.
That is fascinating. Yeah. It's interesting, actually. Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. In Peterborough, not far from us, there used to be a big Homebase, and Homebase is now gone, and it's now become a self-storage unit. And there's another one that's opened up literally as well. And I thought, blimey, bloody hell. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I'm thinking here in my own journey. I mean, I've been moved into my house now for 6 years. And it's funny that we had one van, we were young, we didn't have a lot, we brought it in. But now when I look around my room, I'm thinking there is shit everywhere. But the question I'm asking is why have I got it? Why do I do it? And why do I consume all this stuff, really? Because is it really doing anything,
Yeah.
We constantly are always chucking stuff out at the tip. I mean, it's not great really, because I'm probably adding to landfill, but it's crazy that we hoard this much stuff. But I guess the reason is that the why are we doing it? And I'm guessing, I mean, I'd love to ask, what is the benefits of decluttering and getting rid of this stuff? What benefits do you see from people doing this?
Yeah, I mean, we do have that inner conflict. I don't want to leave it in landfill, and so I'll keep it. So you're just punting it down the road for 20 years. When you die, someone else has got to take it to landfill. So the positive impacts, basically, I mean, there's, for me, when I started to remove physical stuff out of my home, the immediate short-term impacts were space and calm. So back when we used to go to an office, we used to go to a workplace, your home was your zen, your place of, where you ate, where you slept, where you could relax, right? But it didn't turn out that way. It was another storage room. So I'd go to an office full of papers, files, desks, and I'd come home, it would be full of paper, files, desks, DVDs, stacks, all that stuff. And so actually, physically removing your items out of your home can give you that sense of calm. And if you think that's the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy and spend the most amount of time in there, why fill it full of junk? And then you can, if you do decide to sell it and go through that type of avenue, you get your financial rewards, because there might be stuff that is actually, there might be treasures that are just in and around your home that you're not aware of. There's the community part as well. So donating stuff that you don't need or don't use to someone who does need it and will use it, you help someone who's less fortunate than you. And they're just off the top of my head. They're just the immediate positive impacts of decluttering. And obviously with the sustainability and the climate crisis that we're all, trying to play a part in now, if you buy less stuff, you create less waste. If you donate your unwanted T-shirts, you take part in what is called the circular fashion industry, rather than be part of an industry that is, I think it's the second worst industry for environmental damage is fashion industry. And I was all for it, Ricky. I bought so many T-shirts that were, 2 or 3 wears and that was it, done. I hoarded loads of jackets, clothes, jeans. I didn't wear like 75% of them. So the physical act of removing stuff can give you immediate rewards from a financial, from a well-being perspective, and from a giving perspective. And if you stop there, that is good enough. Because a lot of people stop there because they want to sort out their home life. But if you can take it into your digital life and how much social media saps your time away and your relationship with tech, it can really kind of go double, triple, quadruple the impact that you have on yourself and on others as well. So I hope I've sold it.
You know what? Yeah, I think you have, mate. I love the idea. I think most importantly is that well-being aspect that I think we don't often think about. I'm thinking now of like just visualizing my phone and seeing all the apps as I scroll across. How many of them do I actually use? What are the core ones I might need for my business, but how many of them am I wasting time? And I know that I've been doing a lot of stuff lately where it's either promoting podcasts or stuff like that, and I feel like I'm just sucked into my phone. I can feel like my posture just down, and I'm thinking, actually, do I need to do all this? And it's not really adding value by me doing this. Could I still create value without it? And I think I could. So actually, those conversations, I mean, like, this is a morbid thought, isn't it? And I'm probably thinking this because, as you know, and the fans will know, I'm expecting baby girl at any point. And by the time this goes out, she might even be here. But I'm thinking, if I was to die, and it's very morbid to say that, but all those times that I'm wasting on all these different apps and stuff, actually, what was the real thing? It was living a life, and I'm not really doing that. Yeah. But
if you're a magician, Ricky, you'd be able to wizard yourself back to life anyway.
That is, yes, I am a wizard. Yes, I haven't learned that trick yet. I should do that yet. But no, I think it's a great thing, mate. Yeah, generally, I know that Danielle did a challenge a couple of months ago, which was something like you throw away or you declutter like one item a day and then it's 2 days, like that kind of challenge. And I saw like a massive behavior change in her. Like she kind of had this glow about her, and she had hordes of bags just getting rid of stuff. And then there's that guilty aspect, thinking, oh my God, because obviously we were going to get rid of it, thinking, why? Why do we do it? So I guess, Chris, is there a mission, or is there, do you have like a vision or a mission that you would love to inspire people? Is there like something that's on your mind that you want to inspire people to do with this act of decluttering and getting rid of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, by fluke, I decluttered my home because I needed the money, and to do the things I wanted to do, I needed money to go traveling. I couldn't take out any more debt. I needed to take a break from work. So I had to do all of these things to do the one thing I really wanted to do. And I went and did it. And off the back of that, I'm just sharing this story. And basically, we've all got a story to tell. Which is sometimes, some of us don't know it yet. But at the moment, we are consumed in debt with stuff. We're too busy, working ridiculous hours on stuff that probably isn't that important. And there are loads and loads of aspirations buried underneath all of our stuff. And it's time to let that go and do the things that you've always wanted to do and be that type of person you've always wanted to be. Because over the last 18 months, 2 years has shown us that anything can happen, and that at any moment the rug could get pulled out. And similar to what you were saying there, would you like to be sitting down on a nice calm day and looking back and going, I was so pleased I did that spreadsheet? Or, I was so, back at one of the best days I had was running around Primark, those types of things. We can't take it with us, and no one's going to turn up to your funeral and go, he had a really nice watch, that guy. Yeah. His DVD collection was probably the best on the block. We're going to talk about the things that you've done. I want to hear more stories. I want to hear more stories of people doing things that they've always wanted to do, going to places they've always wanted to go to, and just achieving the things that they've always wanted to achieve. And at the moment, I've had a lot of people with the one-to-one coaching that I do who are wanting to change careers. We're in the great resignation at the moment. And we've spoken
I love that,
I know, right? And we've spoken about, those kind of crossroads where we stop and think, is this it for me? And a lot of it revolves around the career, because you spend a lot of time in work, at work, doing work. And people have gone, actually, I want to do something that's more for me, more fulfilling. So the timing of this message, again, either by luck or judgment, is pretty good. And so take ownership of your stuff. Get rid of the stuff you don't need or don't use. Give it to someone else who will use it. And, start clearing the pathway to do the things you want to be doing. Kick that old toy out of the way, pick up that old record and put it on eBay, and go off and use that money or use that time or energy to go and do stuff that you really want to be doing. So that's pretty much what I did by fluke. And now here I am kind of just relaying that message to others. But I want to hear more stories. I want to hear more stuff of what people have been up to and where they've been, rather than what they've been buying.
Yeah. I think that's so powerful, Chris. Yeah. Well, before we obviously wrap up the podcast, obviously, I can't obviously finish the podcast without talking about your amazing book, Discovery of Less. Oh. So tell us a little bit about your book. Yeah. And for anyone that might be inspired by this episode or even thought of this idea, let's talk about the book. Tell us what led the spark to create the book. You've obviously mentioned about the story and how can people, get a listen to the book, or even get a listen to the book? Read the book is what I meant to say.
I want to get a listen. No, how do I get a listen?
Yeah. Do you know what, Chris, actually? I did look for you on Blinkist, actually. Have you heard of Blinkist before?
Yeah. Not there yet.
I was wondering if you... Yeah, love for that. That'd be great, yeah.
I think
that's quite ironic, that, isn't it? A shorter version of the book. Sorry, carry on.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I have been thinking about how we can do, versions of less, a less version. But yeah, Discovery of Less was born in the summer of 2021. But as I was going out and speaking to teams and in organisations about this strange upheaval of selling everything and quitting a successful career, friends of mine said, jokingly, you should write a book about this. And me being me and still having some of those self-limiting thoughts went, nah, mate, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I've written a few blogs here and there, I've written a few articles for people. You know, who am I to write a book? You know, I'm not an author. I don't have the education or the title or the skill set, whatever. But that was a load of bollocks. And so I just basically let go of all of these self-limiting thoughts and thought, no, you know, people lived, oh, you should write a book. And it kept happening. And there was only so many times I could tell people, nah, I'm too scared or I don't believe in myself. I thought, you know, what's the worst that can happen? Mm. And so I used the pictures on my phone to almost dictate back to me the previous 5 years. I also still kept, this is probably one of the only receipts I keep on my email, it was the Music Magpie, Ziffit and We Buy Books receipts of what I'd sold on that very, very first day. So I almost used that because, that 160 quid turned into this. And the weekend after I did this. And so there was a timeline starting to emerge. And I just had to retell that story. So it's all written in the past tense, apart from the last kind of chapter to where it kind of brings it back into, we'd just gone into lockdown. And I'd looked out my flat window in South London and I saw someone with a shopping trolley full of toilet roll. And I was like, here we go. And so, it was just funny that we lost control, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. So what we went to do, we bought more stuff so we could feel that sense of control. But yeah, so people can get the book on Amazon, on any other good online bookstore, and some average ones too.
Yeah, I love that. I see that on your website.
The website is lessisprogress.com, and there's some freebies on there if people want to get like a 30-day challenge and some other bits and pieces. But yeah, so the book came about, and you know, I had a really good editor, and I went through that whole process as a novice, and then come out at the end of it as an author. And so I'd learned how to use sensory language and how to retell this story in a sense that people would enjoy it and get an experience out of. And one of the ladies, I was at another book club last night, and one of the ladies said to me how that she'd connected with the book in different phases because it was British. And I mentioned like little landmarks or people that minor celebrities that we may or may not know, objects that we all have, like toys, films, so we can all connect back into stuff. And it's a story of letting go, and you'll get a little bit of a travel log in there as well. So it's fun, it's light, there's a decent message in it, and it's an experience. So once you buy that book, give it to someone else, or I think you can probably get it for £1.70. You can probably sell it on Music Magpie for £1.70. From what I've heard. So get a little bit of money back after you finish with it, so it doesn't clutter up your bookshelf.
That's it. Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you, Chris. And I guess I've got a question then. So for everyone, we'll put a link in the show notes for everyone, so you can find out the links to go get the book. But also, I guess I'm going to finish with a question, which is, how can we use your story and your learnings of decluttering and this minimalism approach to be the best version of ourselves?
Oh, wow. Big question. Let's save the best one to the end. How can we use it? Yeah, so I coined this term, this minimalist mindset of, you know, using it not just in your home, but in everyday life. And so it's almost, like I said before, kind of clearing that pathway to do more of the things you want to do. And, you know, I'll tell a quick story of one of the clients that I had in the recent past. And she'd gone through various crossroads in her life, whether it was divorce, whether it was a job loss and things like that. These kind of milestones appear. And it's at those milestones where you can choose to make a choice. You can go left, you can go right, or you carry on going down the same road you've always been going down. And she made a choice to take a different path. And she picked up the phone, she goes, I've had this fucking mattress in my house for 6 months and I don't know what to do with it. And it's almost like the physical stuff started to cause her mental pain as well, and it was impacting in her performance at work and relationship with kids and friends and things like that, because she wouldn't want to invite anyone around.
Right.
She didn't want to do social activities because it was just the stuff was draining her energy away. And so piece by piece, she let go of it. She got rid of the mattress. She sold some of the kids' toys that were just taking up space that were never being used. She started to get a little bit of money back, which meant that she could put that into decorating her home where she lived and worked, which made her feel a lot better, which made her have more confidence, which made her then go out and meet new people. And she met someone else, started a new life. And it just all started by getting rid of the mattress, getting rid of an old mattress. And so, like I mentioned before, Ricky, we've all got these stories. We're just at this cusp of creating our own story and designing our own life and our own career. So let go of stuff and start building your own story now. There's no time like the present. And let's start also making an impact on the environment as well, because the less we buy, the less waste we have, we do our bit. And so hopefully that kind of leaves the message with people to go and grab the book, get immersed in my own journey and the mistakes I made, because it's not an easy journey, because you have emotional attachment to stuff. We deal with sunk cost. So if we've paid £500 for a phone and then 2 weeks later it's worth 50 quid, we have to deal with all of these emotional things that we go through. But once you come out the other side, you have this new version of you, and anything's possible.
I love that. I think that's a fantastic way to end the podcast. Chris, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. If they want to, obviously we've got the link for the book in the show notes, but if people want to find out more about what you do, how can they find more about you?
So I'm on all the socials. At Christo Love It is Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., etc. Or you can Google Chris Lovett Minimalist and see what happens.
Yes, love it.
See what magic happens. But yeah, go and grab stuff. Go and immerse yourself in some of the freebies on the website. And if you're feeling the content, and if you're feeling the voice, then go and embrace some more. But, yeah.
Brilliant. Chris, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming onto the show, and take care. Good luck. Best wishes to you. Thank you for listening to this episode, and if you do want to find out more about Chris's work, or even head to the link in the show notes, you can find out about Chris's upcoming talk at TEDx Holt London on the 20th March 2022. Thank you for listening to the episode, and if you did enjoy it, then head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can now leave ratings, or even on Podchaser, leave us a lovely little review as well. And also a big shout out to the wonderful patrons of this podcast. Thank you, Anthony Howe, Sherry Brenton, Steve McDermott, and Rory Barnes for your continued support. Thanks for listening to the episode, and I'll join you on another episode on Unlocked. Goodbye.